Imagine this situation. Government officials spend years designing a dam project, gathering paperwork and waiting for approvals, while a group of beavers just goes ahead and builds the dam for free. That's exactly what happened in the Czech Republic. In the Birdie Nature Reserve, beavers built several dams in just a few days and restored a marshy section of the river faster than the authorities could stamp the required documents. As a result, the government saved around 30 million Czech korunas. That's more than $1 million. Do you know what's most interesting about this story? It perfectly highlights the contrast between nature's efficiency and human bureaucracy. In today's world, any project related to ecology or construction must go through a maze of approvals. And this story from the Czech Republic is a perfect example. To build a simple dam, permission was needed from at least 5 different government agencies: the Environmental Department, the Water Management Office, the local administration, the Construction Oversight Agency, and the Land Use Authority. Each of them required its own set of documents, carried out its own inspection, and set its own conditions. And this was just for restoring a natural water body. Ironically, getting approval for a beaver dam required more signatures than constructing a large residential building. Meanwhile, as it turned out later, the beavers managed just fine without a single stamp or signature. The approval process became a true bureaucratic joke. First, it took 6 months to decide which authority should issue the main permit, local or regional. Then officials realized they needed an extra environmental study, which took another 8 months. Next, they started arguing over funding. The money was available, but they couldn't figure out how to officially allocate it in the budget. At one of the meetings, an official even joked, "The beavers will build the dam faster than we can collect all the documents." And he was absolutely right. What's funny is that this joke was made at the 47th meeting about the project. Yes, over 7 years, there were more than 50 meetings. Just imagine how much coffee was consumed and how many reports were written. Meanwhile, the beavers simply got to work without holding any planning sessions. And yet the original project was quite simple. Engineers proposed building 3 small dams so that water would gradually refill the river's old channel. They prepared a budget, outlined the construction stages. It was just a few months of active work. But between technical readiness and the actual start of construction, a wall of bureaucratic procedures appeared. It all started in the protected Birdie Landscape Park, in the area of the Podurské Ponds. This beautiful place in central Bohemia used to be a military training ground. Back in the Soviet era, the military dug drainage channels to dry out the swampy land. One of these channels, the Klobava River Bypass Canal, eventually caused part of the natural wetlands to dry up. Environmentalists had long wanted to restore the wetland's natural state by bringing water back to the area, creating small ponds and marshes to help retain moisture in the landscape. The Klobava River Restoration Project was developed back in 2018. The plan was to build a series of dams and small reservoirs, with several million korunas set aside for the project. But as often happens, there was a long bureaucratic road between the idea and its realization. The administration of the Birdie Nature Reserve and the water management authorities tried to settle project details, debated land rights for the former military area, and prepared documents. Years passed. Officials say the project was delayed for 7 years. The plan was approved back in 2018, but the full set of permits was only gathered in 2025. Almost 7 years of paperwork. By early 2025, they had even obtained a construction permit. It seemed like the work would finally begin. What's especially ironic is that while all these approvals were being processed, the project itself became outdated and had to be revised twice. During that time, construction regulations changed, environmental requirements were updated, and material prices rose so much that the budget had to be recalculated. Every change triggered another round of approvals. The officials were stuck in a never-ending bureaucratic loop. By early 2025, the total file of documents for the project weighed more than 11 pounds. It contained topographic surveys, geological studies, environmental impact assessments, technical plans, budgets, approvals, permits, official extracts, meeting minutes. A whole mountain of paperwork for just a few simple dams. If all the documents were stacked up, the pile would have been taller than the dam itself. The environmental agency's approval section alone was 600 pages long, more than War and Peace by Tolstoy. And then, while the officials kept adding more and more papers, even breaking a printer in the Nature Reserve's office due to overload, nature decided to take matters into its own teeth. Beavers had appeared in the area a few years earlier. These hard-working rodents settle near bodies of water, building dams to create ponds. This helps protect them from predators and provides a comfortable home. Around 2020, signs of beaver activity began to appear near the Podrutsky ponds, with gnawed tree trunks showing their presence. Biologists identified one beaver family, around 6 to 8 individuals, including a parent pair and their offspring from the past 2 years. At first, the beavers just got settled, digging burrows in the riverbanks, gnawing on and toppling several trees, essentially preparing construction materials. But by 2021, they got down to their main task, building dams on the Klobava River, downstream from the lower Podrutsky Pond. They began creating small barriers in the floodplain meadow, gradually redirecting part of the water back into the river's old course. The climax came in 2024. The beavers reached the very same drainage canal that the military had dug long ago and blocked it with a dam. In other words, the animals accomplished with their teeth what people had planned to do with excavators. The environmental impact of the beavers' activity exceeded all expectations. Without any official project, they created a true piece of wild nature. The director of the Nature Reserve enthusiastically described how the former drainage area had turned into wetlands with ponds, an ideal habitat for rare species. For example, conditions improved for the stone crayfish, a rare type of freshwater crayfish. In spring, the new ponds echoed with the croaking of frogs and toads laying their eggs. The wetland ecosystem was restored, and life immediately returned. It turned out that the beavers didn't just build a dam, they essentially carried out a full-scale ecological restoration of the area. And they did it all without an environmental impact assessment, without an official review, and without an approved work plan. They simply followed their instincts, which turned out to be wiser than all human regulations. But the most surprising part of this story is how the authorities reacted. In a rare case, officials were actually happy that their years of work were no longer needed. Instead of complaining about nature acting on its own, the Czech authorities thanked the beavers. The project was officially canceled because the environment had restored itself just as planned. The money that was supposed to be spent remained in the budget. Now let's uncover the secrets of our beaver heroes. These animals are not called nature's engineers for nothing. Here are a few amazing facts about them. First, beavers don't need to be taught how to build dams. They are born with this ability. Scientists discovered that the sound of running water literally triggers their dam-building instinct. In one experiment, young beavers were played a recording of a flowing stream, and even on a dry floor, without seeing any water, they started piling up sticks and mud on the speaker, trying to block the imaginary flow. Second, beavers are incredibly efficient builders. Under ideal conditions, they can extend a dam by up to 5 feet per day, carrying branches, grass, and mud. They usually work at night, that's their building time, while during the day they mostly rest in their burrows. A beaver family works together with amazing coordination, just like a well-organized construction team. Third, nature has equipped beavers with a unique tool, their teeth. Beaver teeth contain iron. The enamel of their incisors is rich in this metal, which gives them an orange-red color. This structure makes their teeth extremely strong. They don't break when cutting through tough branches and are even resistant to acids. Interestingly, beaver teeth never stop growing, so they must constantly gnaw. Otherwise, their teeth would grow too long. And finally, beavers are perfectly adapted for underwater work. They can dive and hold their breath for up to 15 minutes, allowing them to build underwater tunnels and strengthen their dams from the inside. Beavers even have transparent eyelids, like built-in goggles or a third eye, that protect their eyes underwater and let them see as if they were wearing a diving mask. Their famous flat tails serve both as a rudder while swimming and as a warning signal. When a beaver slaps its tail on the water, it creates a loud alarm to alert others of danger. The story of the Czech beavers is more than just a funny incident. It's a lesson about the power of nature and a reminder that sometimes we should trust it. Of course, this isn't a call to fire all engineers and replace them with beavers, but the case in Birdie showed that natural processes can solve problems faster and cheaper than even the most carefully planned human projects. With a bit of irony, one might say, if bureaucracy is slowing down a project, call the Beavers. They work without an advance payment, don't take bribes, and their greatest strength is their unstoppable dedication to construction. In the end, the Czech officials got an excellent result and saved millions, simply by letting nature do its job. And the Beavers? Well, the Beavers were just living their lives. They had no deadlines, no budget. They didn't even know they were part of an unspoken competition. Yet these animals became national heroes. Their dams are now attracting media attention and will likely become a local attraction for nature lovers. It's ironic but true. The Beavers completed a 7-year project in just 2 days. In a way, they showed people that sometimes the best thing to do is to give nature a chance instead of trying to control everything with paperwork. This story has become a favorite among Czech environmentalists. Now, whenever a project gets stuck in bureaucratic approvals, they jokingly say, maybe we should just call the Beavers. And you know what? There's some truth in that joke. Sometimes the most effective solutions aren't in stacks of documents. They're in nature itself. Let the bureaucrats rest. The Beavers are at work.